Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for sticking around. So, one of the Jake, I wanted to get your take on this. I'll pose this to both of you, but we've been seeing, the news. The news has been, and I think rightfully so, kind of focused on what can only be described as an antagonistic attitude towards China that the newly minted, as of yesterday, President-elect Donald Trump has had for a long time. This isn't something that he has just come to over the last year while he was running for president, but he's been bad-mouthing China and, being tough on China, I guess, for a long time. And Terry Branstad obviously has not. It's almost diametrically different attitudes towards China. What do you think that Terry being the good foot soldier is going to be, but what do you think the risk is of some kind of, rift or disagreement or mistake between the two of them in crafting a unified message towards China?
I don't foresee that happening. I really think that he's going to give Governor Branstad a lot of free rein, and he's going to come back and advise President-elect Trump to what he believes is the best route. They're not going to agree 100%, but I don't see a lot of hostility. President-elect Trump is not. He may be, when he campaigned, maybe completely against China, but I really don't see him being against complete free trade. There's just no way when you have that kind of relationship we have with China, both sides. They take a lot of our soybeans, a lot of our corn, and we go the other way around. I don't see him having harsh penalties and tariffs and everything else. I just can't see that happening, especially getting through the United States Congress.
What would be to follow up on that? It would be fascinating to me because we saw 2014 starting off 2014, the state that gave Barack Obama legitimacy nationally start to move back towards the Republican side, and I'm talking about Iowa, obviously. With erosion in Democratic Senate control as the main factor of that, but what do you think? And Trump won Iowa 7-8 points, something like that.
Yeah,
pretty handily
for Iowa. In
Iowa, that's what I'm saying. What happens if Trump says, "Yeah, hey, China, 35%, 45%. We're not. You know what? We're not taking any. We're selling you. We're selling our corn. We're selling our agricultural products to you at these crazy protectionist marked up rates." I mean, would that crack some support for Donald Trump in Iowa? That sort of thing. How reliant on the Chinese market is the state of Iowa?
I don't know the exact figures, to be honest with you, but I'll tell you, I believe it's a lot. I mean, we have to feed the world, and that's what Iowa does. We don't need all the food we produce, especially with hog and pork and beef, but I'll tell you.
We're a net exporter, right?
Yeah, without a doubt, not even close. I mean, you go to some counties. I went to Ellsworth Community College for a year, and the first day of class, he goes, "Yeah, if you live in Hardin County, you're 101 pigs," and that's low. I mean, it's all over the country, or all over the state, different counties have extremely, the beef and the hogs are way past humans, so we're a net exporter. I think that would significantly hurt. Actually, I believe that any large tariff like that would hurt the consumers. They're actually designed to protect the consumer. I think it does the exact opposite. It's a tax before it even gets there. So a retailer is going to put that in there, going to put build that tax into the cost as it is. So I believe that will hurt the people you're trying to help the most.
Let alone retaliation from China, and not just Iowa.
Because that's you start cracking down on tariffs with China, which we've done before, has never turned out well for the United States in general. Also, you have to keep in mind China produces a pile of steel, which is one of the main issues we have, is that they dump their steel on us.
Looks
like,
go ahead.
The percent that I'm looking at here, and I could be wrong, grew 1,300% by 2012. That's 13 times, and it looks like, just doing the numbers quick in my head, it looks like we do about 15% of our exports. Go to China.
Holy cow.
Yeah, that's a chunk. No wonder Trump. I mean, I'm sitting there thinking, I can see, he's friends with the president of China and all that.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you go, holy cow, that makes sense.
So is that 50%. A signal? Is that a signal then that Trump's tough campaign talk is just talk?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. One of the interesting things that I read this week, and it was out of the AP came out with it, and I read it on Kiev Post, and so it got picked up by the Ukrainian paper there. There was a meeting with the Muslim foreign ministers, and they all got together. And they started asking questions. Well, what do you think about the new president? Do you think it's really going to be bad? How bad is all this rhetoric going to affect you? And the several that they commented, they had 7 different ministers comment that they would much rather work with Trump and bad rhetoric rather than Obama making deals with Iran. Now, I'm not saying that as a political jab, because we're trying to get a new spirit of the show, but that is what they said. And I do believe that the Chinese are going to take a similar approach. We can deal with rhetoric as long as business gets done, as long as things move forward. And I think that in part, that's why Branstad got a point.
But the problem with that line of argument, and I'm not going to attack your anecdote, but
it's on the AP.
It's not just rhetoric. Well, I know that, but it's not just rhetoric when the president says it.
And you're correct. You're correct.
Obama is still eating that red line for the last 4 years.
Yes, he is.
And that was a toss-off at the time. I don't think that he actually meant that as an actual
because
policy.
Suddenly things mean a lot more when you're president. And I agree with your point 100%.
Now, I'll tell you one thing that people don't realize. I think both political parties, when it comes to foreign policy, are wrong, and I'll say that loudly. But when it comes to one thing, you know what makes everybody happy? When you go home, lights turned on, you have food in the belly. If we're both trading and we're both winning, we're not going to fight. I don't really care. They always whine. When you do these embargoes, do you know what hurts? Hurts the poor people in Cuba.
Yeah.
You know what? Fidel Castro, all those folks, they did horrible, horrible things. But here's what upsets me. Whenever we do something, we give them goods, and it hurts the people you want to help the most. I completely agree with that. I think that it's going to be interesting to see, because and the media has covered this, or covered like the Trump movement or the Trump revolution, whatever it is, the Republicans winning an election, like that was never going to happen again, for crying out loud.
Well, it didn't look like it.
Anybody that thinks that any party's got a permanent majority is crazy. Karl Rove, cough, cough. But my point is simply this. Hey, you saw Democrats saying the same kinds of things. Being smug about demographics. But I guess the point that I would make about the way that the media has covered a lot of this stuff about the Trump campaign and what's been going on is he is this monolithic thing that if you're a Trump voter, you believe 100% of the things that you are a certain person wearing a red Make America Great Again hat, as opposed to the reality of, just like any political movement or a political party, disparate coalitions with differing interests coming together for a goal that they view as the greater good. Trump is going to have just as much difficulty keeping in line the free trade agricultural farm folks like us as trading with China, getting along with the steel producing, why aren't our factory jobs coming back in Pennsylvania and Ohio? He's going to have, as the Democrats do in keeping track of the environmentalists and the unions. It is going to be a delicate balancing act that he's going to have to do. That's
correct.
Yeah, and
I have a picture of my phone for that, by the way.
All right.
Yeah,
when the unions protested the hippies.
We're going to take a break right now. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We couldn't do what we do without you. Stay tuned for a word.